conversation. The letter that was dated to the Zulu Club was dated 1 week prior to showing up with the news media. And so it seemed like what we were looking for was a confrontation rather than a conversation. And so we don't shy back from what we do. We do what we do in public. We don't.
And that's why.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's why we're here tonight, to have a conversation.
But I would like to correct it.
Well, wait, Malcolm. I just want to say, the great thing is that black people are not monolithic, that there is a continuum of thought across the spectrum, and we're witnessing it tonight. And I just want to thank everybody for participating, and now Malcolm, go right ahead.
Right.
Mr. Zulu.
Let us talk about this letter to Zulu. We wrote a letter to Zulu asking to appear at that next meeting, which was the Wednesday night before we showed up on Thursday. So there was adequate time. All we asked for was a hearing. That's all we wanted, to sit down and talk to you and explain our position. We're not anti-Zulu. We're anti-Blackface. We're anti-anything that upholds white supremacy. And that is what we wanted to talk to them about. And what we're trying to say to our brothers in Zulu is that you should look at the world as it's changing. And certainly in this year, where we've got governors of Virginia, congressmen and judges from Florida resigning because of being revealed wearing blackface, how can we as black people in the city of New Orleans recognize that movement around the country and not respond positively to that and say, we need to look this. See, I understand that there's been 4 generations of black people in the city who've grown up with Zulu, and many of them don't know anything about blackface, minstrelsy. And so I understand and give them a pass on that. But most of you in Zulu are educated enough to understand what that history is and what it represents.
Right.
And all I'm saying is that I would reconsider, if I were you, and take a stand with the rest of Black America, take a stand and say that blackface is part of our past, part of our hated past, and we don't want to do that any longer. And that's what we want to do.
You have a response, Mr. Belford?
Even in this audience, you don't get a majority of support. And so what you have is you have a cross-section of people that believe your position, and then you have a cross-section of people that don't support your position.
Or not.
Go ahead, question. You have something, trivia?
Yeah, there's an important piece of the history that's being completely blurred, smudged, and left out. And that's that in 1909, when they adopted this black paint, they went to a minstrel show. It was a minstrel show that inspired the black paint. You didn't go to a circus, though these were like little derivatives of circuses where they made us the clowns as black people, all right? And when we're looking at these black paint, get-ups that you do every year, that's not by accident, and it doesn't take a lot of imagination to go from a red mouth to a white mouth, or 2 eyes, 1 eye, whatever. We know what we're looking at. It's a minstrel show. It's completely that. Another important part of the history that's being smudged out is this is not the first time we've had this conversation. And all of the work that we do at Take Em Down Nola is inspired by the fact that this is the second iteration of a civil rights movement in America. You could say the third if you really go all the way back to, after Reconstruction, what have you. And we're dealing with the same problems. And in some cases, they're worse, right? The track record of what we can account for in terms of lynchings back then was somewhere like a couple times a week. But last time I checked BLM stats, we're still getting a state-sanctioned violent murder every day, right? And so we wanted to connect this to the history, the larger history, to show how and why we show up the way we do. And the last time we had a wave like this, it was the civil rights movement organizers who pushed Zulu to reducing their membership down to some 16. I'm gonna say really quickly a quote by O.C. Haley, Aretha Castro Haley, who has a street named after her, all right? And she went on record as saying, I think Zulu is a disgrace. But some of the fight is out of me about it this year. Zulu is just a big mess, that's all. Many people feel we should get rid of Zulu because the white people think that's the way we are. Then they want to have a parade that imitates the white people. Well, that's not us any more than the grass skirts and the coconuts are. I don't think Zulu will be with us forever. Now, be clear. O.C. Hill is calling for the dismissal of Zulu. We just said blackface. So by proxy, by comparison, we're going way softer on them than it's been in the past. All right? I don't think Zulu will be with us forever, but there's so much internal fighting, speaking of us not all having the same opinion in New Orleans, and then she breaks down why. There's so much internal fighting that the people who are against are just left to say to themselves, what are we going to do about Zulu? This is simply not a militant community, she said about her own New Orleans in 1961. And besides, we're split in so many different ways. Colonization, anyone? We don't have just Negroes. We have our Catholic Negroes, our Protestant Negroes, our downtown Negroes, our uptown Negroes, our light Negroes, our dark Negroes. We have too many Negroes that don't think they're Negroes. On the strength of that alone, we know that as much as we take pride in the diversity and not being a monolith here in New Orleans, there's also a lot of sickness and pathology that comes from colonization. The fact that we come from several different parts of Africa, Haiti as well. By the time they got us here, they split us up, divided us, small town, big city that we be. And then they were able to convince a few who eventually became upper echelon, middle class, upper middle class black Negroes that dressing up in minstrel was a joke that the rest of us could just take lightly. But it's not a joke to me because I know what it represents us as in public, and that's what leads to the devaluation of black life.
Thank you, Chris. Cece, I saw your hand. Cece Campbell Rock.
One of my concerns in terms of imagery and Zulu does wonderful things for the community, and we thank you for that. But what do the authentic Zulus think about this black makeup? I did speak with Councilman Jay Banks for an article I wrote in Think 504, it's still up. And he told me that the authentic Zulus were invited to parade with the Zulu Nation 2 or 3 years ago. But the authentic Zulus did not wear the black makeup. So what does that tell us?
Right.
Okay, so the original name for the Zulu Social and Pleasure Club, they came out initially as the Tramps. And that was the parody of the minstrel show that they saw. So that was a costume. But I really, when you look at Zulu today, isn't that somewhat disrespectful of the authentic Zulus? Because they were fierce warriors, they are fierce warriors. They beat back the British, they took their land, and they're being lampooned as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So I think that the Zulu club members, the majority of whom are black, already have black faces. They really don't need the black.
I shade.
How does a child look at Zulu? How do children view Zulus? You know, when I was a child, I really thought they were clowns. Yeah. Because I thought they were, comic characters. So I would just want to see the authentic Zulus be more respected in terms of the dress and the garb, because African people are beautiful.
Yeah. All right.
John Slade.
I talked about this on WBLK about a couple of weeks ago. All the wonderful things that are done by Zulu could probably be done without the blackface. The laws of physics don't contravene that. Also, we're talking about imagery. All right, now, at one time, having nappy hair was a joke in the black community. You were shunned. What's wrong with you? You come from the jungle or something? Cicely Tyson wore the first afro on television in the early 1960s on a show called East Side, West Side with George C. Scott. Letters came into CBS, or I think it was NBC, saying, what is wrong with her? From black people, a lot. She's embarrassing us. Why don't you get her hair fixed? I'm going to say this lastly on this issue of imagery with the black face. Now, full disclosure, my brother-in-law, Keith Weatherspoon, was King Zulu 1990. Yes, it was fun. My relatives came down and interrogated me on the blackface, so I told them the legend as I knew it then. That was meant to mock the white people. So they said, okay. So I just want to point out, if you want to mock the white, it seems like you've fallen away from the great story that you told, the legend of Zulu, that it was mocking the white people. I don't see any mocking now. I don't see a Black Lives Matter float with the Zulus standing up saying, we're mocking you guys, we don't like the way you're treating us. Or perhaps even a gentrification float. Hey, that was a hilarious mockery and satire. I know satire, I've been a political cartoonist a long time. So lastly, to take the blackface, say you want to save the blackface, you want to save the blackface. Is there any way you could make it to where white people wouldn't like it, to radicalize it, to actually make it a militant thing of some kind, to bring back the sharp, cruel, cold satire you were making? And maybe make it controversial. That would take a lot of work, might be a generation worth of work, maybe 10 years worth of work, to try and, God help me for saying this, don't throw me out, trying to figure out a way to salvage or change the meaning of the image, as we did with the afro, as we did with dark skin, as we did with the word black. That was fighting words in my daddy's day. If that could be done, that would take a lot of work. If you can't, I'm not against you having it removed.
Okay,
Actually looking like actual Zulu warriors. The ways,
thank you, John.
what you call it, looks like a European king.
Go ahead. Thank you.
For us, Black Lives Matter, it matters to us, and we reflect the fact that it matters to us in the checks that we write every month to the Black community, in the money that we spend every month in the Black community, in the educational assistance that we give to kids in the Black community. And we do it every year. We give scholarships every year. Every year we give scholarships. Every year we give scholarships. Every young lady that was a maid in our parade this year received a financial scholarship. So yeah, Black Lives Matter to us, and we get this reflected in the work that we do. Not just by putting a float in the parade and making a mockery by float. We reflect that Black Lives Matter in the work that we do, in the supporting of the Black kids and the Black communities that we do in this city. We work and we do an exchange with the African businesses, with the products that we sell, with the products that we distribute through our store. Not one African organization, leader, has expressed a disdain for the costumes that we make, we wear. Not one. Not one. You read a letter from Aretha Castle Haley. I respect the sister. I respect her legacy. But not one African American, not one African country, not one African business, not one African leader has expressed disdain to the Zulu Club. Not one. Not directly to us. Not directly to us. Well, you're saying it's not true, we'll give it to us. Not one. We do business with them, we do exchanges with them, and to this day, we haven't had anybody standing up saying, from their perspective, that we're disrespecting them.
So, Mr. Belfort, are you saying that the only people who have ever questioned the black makeup that you wear is Take Em Down Nola? Is that your position?
The only official, when I was president of the Zulu Social and Pleasure Club for 2 years, I worked closely with folks from all walks of life, from all entities. Never once got any disrespectful comments from anybody. We worked to do exchanges with our products and with their products to bring more products in, and to bring more of their products into the city, into our business. Did not receive any negative letters. You guys are saying that it happened. It happened, but it didn't come to us. It did not come to us. So if you're saying that it happened, produce the documents that came to the Zulu Club, and we'll respond to it. We don't have those documents. We have representations from individuals that say that something happened, but there was nothing that came to us to say that we want to stop.
Well, we are going to move actually to questions from the audience. Okay, I do want you to respond.
I just think it's really important that, Mr. Belfort, when we're talking about leadership, because when we're talking about people's voices and who's of value and the first idea comes to who's elected for city council, who's elected official, who's a business owner, it minimizes every Black working class person in Orleans Parish who has vocalized that it is a problem for them. In addition to the fact that every single one, to include, as you say, you respect Aretha Castle Haley and on, members of the Zulu Club who also decided that they were going to walk away from the organization themselves, who are all leaders in the organization, both elected and business officials, etc. I think that it's really important that you hear us say that if you have not heard it before, you're hearing it tonight, that we're disagreeing with it. And those of us who are in this audience who disagree with it, I'm not going to put anybody above or below because of an elected official status, because it's always been the power of the people who forced elected officials and people in positions of power to change their practice.
Yes.
So I don't want to underestimate the power of the people. I also just want to say very, very quickly, and then I'll let it go because my time gets cut a little faster than
Come on.
the I believe you when you say that, and I want to give you the full benefit of the doubt and say that I believe you when you say with the wearing of the black face, maybe you did not mean to hurt anybody. But we're talking about the material conditions in terms of how it has transpired. When I look at the faces, and I just want to call the audience attention to this because I'm going to just show this once. When I show people these images, they can't discern one way or another who's considered to be Zulu or not. The photo at the top is a minstrel show. The second photo below it, the third photo below it, and the fourth are all Zulu. The last two photos are Zulu this year, and they're both white men. So even when we talk about this idea of satire, the whole satire conversation gets lost at the point at which we decide as honorable Black organizations in our community to allow white people into the organization to wear the blackface. Now let me say something about Black people wearing blackface. We know that Bonneville, the same folks that the organization indicates that it went to the play to see and get inspired, was a minstrel show, as Quest said, and this is the outfit, the blackface with the white lips. Now, I do also have photos of Zulu members with red lips, but we're not talking about that tonight. We'll just talk about the white lips. And the white lips, from the show, they make it very clear that when white people put on blackface, they were minstrel. When Black people put on blackface, the economic exploitation and opportunity was higher because people enjoyed watching Black people with blackface on, and they still do today.
Yes.
So, as the Zulu Club says, and you say it in your own writing, it's on that other paper that you had out, it says that we as Zulu not only honor our local standing, we honor our national standing and our international standing. We as Take Em Down Nola was hoping that when the international consciousness rose, the national consciousness rose, that when we sent you that letter, that was our way of saying we love you too, and we hope you get ahead of this thing. We did not stand before any media camera and articulate anything until the Zulu Club had put out a 3-page report indicating your stance because of that pressure that was coming nationally. We did not stand before any camera to say anything about anything until your historian said on camera to the media that blackface and this black makeup was not the same. We didn't see the distinction between the two, so the media hit us up because we do take a stand. And when we say symbols to white supremacy, that blackface is white supremacy. I'm done.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Thank you.
Come on.
To the members of the Zulu Club back there who say you want to continue the conversation after, we are down for that because the time is not all going to be today.
That's right. Thank you. So, I do have another scripted question. I feel like Donald Trump. I was completely off script for the last 30 minutes. So New Orleans is a city steeped in cultural traditions. How important are the traditions of the Zulu Club to our community? Describe the value and the impact of the Zulu Club, historically and present day, on the Black community in New Orleans. And how does the Zulu Club weigh the value of its traditions against their social impact? Mr. Belfield?
The popularity of the Zulu Club is ever expanding. When I joined Zulu back in 1977, I was the youngest member for the longest. I was one of the youngest kings ever elected when I was elected in 1994. Back then we had 300 members. A lot of people look at the Zulu parade, and what you don't understand is that the majority of the people that you see in the parade are really not members of the Zulu Club. The majority, there are 1,500 riders in the Zulu, 1,500, 2,000 riders in the Zulu parade, and we only have 600 members. So the majority of the riders in the parade are not Zulu members. When I was king, there were 375 members, and we had 2,000 people on the parade. But the popularity is such that in 1994, when I was king, we had 375 members, and today there are almost 800 plus 900 members of the Zulu Club, active members, with a waiting list of members, of individuals trying to get into the club. And so the popularity of the club is ever expanding. It's not going down, it's skyrocketing. And so we don't have the place large enough to accommodate the number of individuals that want to join and be members of the Zulu Social Aid and Militia Club as it stands today. It's extremely popular. As far as our economic impact, I'll defer to the economic studies of the city about the economic impact of the Zulu parade in the city. I know that after Katrina, they came to us and they thought that the Zulu participation in Mardi Gras was key to letting folks know that New Orleans was going to be okay.
Come on.
Now, I was in Atlanta, I disagreed with that. I thought it was more important to get people back in their houses and in their churches and in their schools. So I didn't come back from Atlanta to participate in Mardi Gras 2006. But the business community and the mayor and the government wanted to participate because they thought it was very integral part of letting people know that the city was going to be okay.
Open for business?
Pay for that. And I heard some comments about folks paying for Zulu. Zulu pays its own way. The members pay its own way. And I hear that it's not true comment. I've been president of the Zulu Club. I know the finances like the back of my hand. I know where every dollar comes from, and I know where every dollar goes. And if you think that the money comes from outside sources to support the Zulu Club, then you're mistaken. We do apply for grants and we do apply for other forms of economic aid that other organizations grow to. We do apply for those.
Brother Sekou here.
We do apply for those.
I love him. Who is he?
As I said when I started our pop. As I said when I started.
All right, Sekou, please.
As I said when I started, so I'm suffering from a cold and I can't talk as loud as I would normally talk, and I apologize for that. But we do apply for economic assistance, as all other organizations do, from tourism and whatnot, and we do get sponsorships from different companies. But we don't. The Zulu stands on its own 2 feet in terms of what we do in this city. And so,
All right, we got.
Well, I really do want to talk solutions. And thank you for bringing that up, because tonight is about solutions. Tonight is about where we go from here as a community. This is, I think, extremely important. I don't think this conversation is happening anywhere else in the country, because I don't think there's another Zulu organization. But I think that the importance shouldn't be lost on where we are, what we're talking about. It's about us controlling our own imagery. It's about who projects that, who controls that. I do have one last final question, and then we'll open it up to the audience. So I'll give a little background. We have 2 organizations that bring value to our community in their respective capacities. Take Em Down Nola is one of the few grassroots social activism organizations fighting for the eradication of symbols of white supremacy and actively working toward the betterment of the Black community. The Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club is an iconic organization with deep roots in New Orleans, whose members serve as culture bearers of the city's rich and storied history. The club is known around the world for its unique traditions and colorful carnival style. How can these two powerful groups, the grassroots activists and the seasoned culture bearers, work together to ensure our history and traditions are preserved?
All right.
Go, Malcolm, Angela, want to go first, either?
I just want to say very, very quickly, there are so many things we could talk about tonight, but just to close out this Blackface piece, I just want to say we, and everyone in the audience, just to be clear, people are out there saying that we have a problem with the fact that there's paint on them. It's not about the paint, it's about this configuration of the paint on the face. When you put those eyes and enlarge them, when you put the lips and enlarge them, it is designed this specific way as a form, an extension of the minstrel tradition. There's no other way to interpret that. But I do want to say that we have some beautiful, born and reared, because you talk about those of us who moved here real bad, born and reared New Orleanian artists who are innovative. I mean, we just got a shout out all over the world. I mean, it's ongoing. New Orleans has always been on the front lines of resistance to oppression, has always been on the front lines of culture, always. And so this one thing right here, there's nothing about Zulu that we love and appreciate, to include the checks you write, to include the charity work that you do, to include the dancing, to include the parade that you do, that we couldn't appreciate without the blackface. So there are some artists that are submitting to you some design possibilities just to foster the imagination of what's possible. We know that there's a whole year for Zulu to think through this, process through this. We're not saying stop what you're doing in regard to all that. We're just saying this blackface thing that you did let go in 65, that you did let go also in 66, you've done it once before. We're simply asking you to do it again. We have multiple images. I want you to take one back to your president, take one back to the historian.
Come on.
We have more, but we're just saying this has got to go, and these are many possibilities if you can't do the mask, because I know you all can afford masks now, but if you don't want the mask, there are many configurations of new possibilities. We want to imagine a new world and just not stop the tradition, push the culture forward, because New Orleans has done that before.
Let's work together.
As I stated when I sat here, I do not speak for Zulu.
Then why you up there?
You sure defended him.
I bet.
Wait. He originally, some of you may have come in late, and I do want to make it clear that Mr. Belfield is here sharing the wealth of his knowledge, having been the past president and the past king and a 40-year member of Zulu, but he is not here in the official capacity as a representative of the Zulu organization.
I don't speak for Zulu, but I don't run from Zulu either. And I'll be here throughout the night to speak to anybody, one-on-one, in group, however you choose, about Zulu. I am a member of the Zulu Club. I've been a member for 40 years. I stand by what I do. I support what I do. I don't run from nobody for what I do. Now, this, as far as these photographs are concerned, I like the artwork. I just suggest that you forward them to the organization. I'm not here representing. I like the artwork. I don't have a problem with that. I like the design. But as far as us being forced to change what we do, I don't know that the organization is going to take very kindly to the attempts to force us to do something. However, the conversations about trying to inject different possibilities of facial design is welcome by me. And I'm hoping it'll be welcomed by the organization. Forward those photographs to the organization.
Mr. Super will have the last word in this session, and then we'll open it up to questions from
I just wanted to respond to this question of force. Take Em Down Nola is not trying to force anybody to do anything except come to their senses.
I just object to the comment that you think that I'm out of my senses. And I may very well think that you out of yours, but I'm not.
Let's keep this civil, and this is about solutions, and this is about us working together, making improvements in our society.
And we know as social revolutionaries that the only thing constant is change. And Zulu has the possibility of change within itself. And all we're asking Zulu is to quit beating people over the head with this tradition, and start talking about, let's be on board with black people all around this country who have taken a stand against blackface. And if you want to be stepping with the rest of our people, you would, as they say in the Bible, go forth and sin no more. Repent your sins.
Mr. Silver, thank you for your last word. We're going to open this up to the audience. And again, we have